It's never easy for a book series to make its way into the screen, but the Harry Potter movies are so perfect that they seem completely real. While the movies weren't able to capture every little corner of Harry Potter's magical existence, there is no doubt about the fact that they included almost all of the most important information. So in today's video, I'll be showing you some of the small details and Easter eggs in the movies that probably went unnoticed. In the Philosopher's Stone, during Harry and Hagrid's journey hidden to the Leaky Cauldron, if you look, you can see this black sign right there. But when Hagrid and Harry approached, if you can look closely, you notice that the sign became suddenly visible. Also inside the Leaky Cauldron, but in The Prisoner of Azkaban, we can see a wizard reading a book. But it wasn't any other book. A Brave History of Time by Stephen Hawking, showing that Stephen's book was so amazing that also wizards did enjoy it. Now this little Easter egg here in The Prisoner of Azkaban is one of my favorites. While Fred and George were giving Harry the Marauder's map, Newt Scamander's Snape appeared in this scene. Now the reason why he's there is completely unknown. I've made a full video explaining the possibilities of this theory, but it was a nice small detail made by the director. Now jumping to the Deathly Hallows. Exactly when Voldemort realized that the wand was not working for him, Snape then showed up and asked. If you look closely, you can see a Gryffindor scarf hanging in the background. Now this proves that although Snape was Slytherin, he had one of the Gryffindor colors, bravery. Snape knew that he wasn't the true owner of the wand, but he refused to help Voldemort and telling him anything that would make him stronger. He sacrificed his own life just for Dumbledore's plan. In the same movie, during the Battle of Hogwarts, giants were using something that looks like a ring as weapon. If you can take a guess, what the giant holding is the goal post of the Quidditch pitch. Also in the battle, the guy who was leading students using broomsticks to the war was Oliver Wood, coming back to Hogwarts to fight and defend his school. After the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, Lucius Malfoy was sent to Azkaban. Unfortunately, this scene never made it to the movie. But in Deathly Hallows, you can see Lucius' Azkaban prison number on his neck. Also when Harry announced that he was still alive, it was a moment when George turned to his side in search of his brother, the pain on his face as he realized that his twin was no longer there. The twins were always together and it's hard to see them apart. Fred was always on his brother's side whenever something happens, but this time he wasn't. The Deathly Hallows Part 2 is full of unnoticeable details. When the main characters were heading out to fight the Death Eaters, Slughorn can barely be seen in the background of the scene, taking a drink from a bottle. Of course it has to be nothing but the liquid luck. And it did work as Slughorn survived unharmed after the battle. When McGonagall was dueling Snape, he blocked her spells without firing a single one in return. But that wasn't all. Snape deflected one of her spells to the Carrow's Death Eaters and even managed to take their wands from them before fleeing away from the castle. Harry and Neville in the Battle of Hogwarts were wearing the same clothes their fathers wore back in the days during the Second Wizarding War. These details actually have connections to the story and weren't put there for no reason. Let's take this for example in the orphanage. In this scene, we can see Tom Riddle putting 7 pieces of rocks in the window, although he at that point knew nothing about Horcruxes or splitting his soul into 7 pieces. He showed his affection to the number 7 from a young age. Here we can also see a picture of a cave, the cave that Tom Riddle was brought to on holiday with his orphanage. He discovered this cave and terrorized 2 fellow orphans. The place never left his memory, thus he later returned and hid one of his Horcruxes there. There is one more in the Half-Blood Prince that always amazes me every time. Harry's Quidditch number. Of course you all noticed this number on his shirt, but this number wasn't selected randomly. The Weasley have 7 children. There are 7 core classes taught at Hogwarts. Children go to school at Hogwarts for 7 years. 7 secret passages shown in the map. 7 players in Quidditch. 7 ingredients of Polyjuice Potion. 7 snakes on the door of the Chamber of Secrets. 7 locks on Moody's trunk. There were 7 Potters during the Battle of 7 Potters. Harry escaped death at the hands of Voldemort 7 times before finishing him off. And most importantly, Voldemort created 7 Horcruxes and Harry was one of them, and so on. So Harry wearing the number 7 was absolutely not a coincidence. Back to the Philosopher's Stone, McGonagall was the one who introduced Harry to Oliver Wood, and it seems as though she knows talents because she was previously the talent herself. During a scene when Harry was looking at his father's badge, you can see Minerva's name right beside James. That wasn't all actually. If you look more closely, you can also see Tom Riddle's trophy award for services to the school. This award was given to Tom Riddle when he framed Hagrid for being responsible for opening the Chamber of Secrets and unleashing Slytherin's basilisk. The Goblet of Fire movie did a very terrible job in skipping a lot of important and amazing scenes from the book, not to mention wiping out a bunch of characters completely. Winky the House Elf was one of these characters, but in this scene during the Quidditch World Cup, you can probably see Dobby there, and beside him, there was another House Elf. This could be Winky herself, who knows, given that she was present in that location in the book. Dumbledore's office has always been an outstanding place, full of magical objects, artifacts, and portraits. But have you ever paid any attention to the three-dimension Deathly Hallows objects in Dumbledore's office? We'll get to know the Deathly Hallows after 3 movies, yet still they were revealed way back in the Goblet of Fire, also showing that Dumbledore still has some affection towards the Deathly Hallows. This one here wasn't in the book, but Barty Crouch Jr. had a weird habit of flicking his tongue, so while disguising as Alastor Moody, Barty Crouch didn't stop doing that. It was at this moment that Barty Crouch Sr. realized, or maybe just had doubt, that Mad-Eye Moody is actually his son when he flicked his tongue, which led him to murder his father short after this incident, so he remains undercover to complete his master's mission. In the Order of Phoenix, when Arthur was taking Harry to the Ministry of Magic, they used the Fawn Box as its visitor entrance. The booth transports visitors from ground level to the Ministry. In the book, to activate the entrance, Arthur had to enter the numbers 62442. If you think about it, these numbers spill in magic on the telephone. The Weasley family was well known for being poor throughout the series. In the Order of Phoenix, during one of Dumbledore's army meeting, all the girls are wearing skirts except Ginny, who is wearing pants. Considering having 6 older brothers, probably it's a hand-me-down from her brothers. There were also some small details related to the intro and outro. For example, the Harry Potter intro became darker every year. The logo of Warner Bros. Went from bright to very dark. This comes down to the fact that the movies were getting darker and darker each year. Also in the Goblet of Fire, a reflection of the Snake Nagini Slytherin can be seen in the Warner Bros. Logo. Now in the outro, the end credits of Goblet of Fire feature the magical disclaimer, no dragons were harmed in the making of this movie. At the end of the Philosopher's Stone, the actor who played Lord Voldemort is credited as he who must not be named. There is also one small detail in the title of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, as it contains the Deathly Hallows symbol. There are a lot of small details that I didn't include in this video. If you want me to make a part 2, make sure to comment that down below. Also don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.